Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Goktug Serez, and today I'm going to present to you about the what we have created self-service shiftless solutions, existing CI/CD pipelines in our organization. So this will be like less technical and more storytelling. And go to the next up. Okay. So let me give you like a brief overview what I'm going to speak today about. I will be going to show our how our approach, how we implemented our self-service solution, utilize SAST and SCA controls for developers and DevOps engineers can implement in their pipelines. Sharing our experiences, like more progress, what could be good reference for like other security engineers or they can follow the similar workflow. I will be going to describe more targeting continuous integration rather than continuous delivery for this case. The reason is this project was first designed for the created as a self-service for SAST and SCA. I also have been more involved with this project later than like DAST configuration, container scanner and builds later, but more suitable for like they're more suitable for continuous delivery stage. Specifically, I will going to briefly show how we utilized my mouse froze. Okay, sorry. Specifically, I will be going to briefly show how we utilize the Jenkins, basically, control the scan jobs for SonarCube and OS dependency check that makes people to more easy to use for development teams in their continuous integration. Uh, this presentation is not about. I will going to explain what I will not going to speak about today. I'm not going to go deeply explain the performance quality of the scanner tools. Or we will focus on how to like introduce an approach like integrating scanners mostly. I will not going to be show like the new standard of architecture, like the new DevSecOps program or initiative. It's just like our experiences, what we have did so far. We have been started this project a part of our security champion program, so it's like a subset of security champion program. Most of the processes we have been using in our security champion channels. We were using like the existing channels based on the security champion we already have. Make things a lot easier, influenced by the attracted many other developer teams the idea of the shift left. And I will not going to explain how you need to harden your CI/CD pipelines or source code management platforms against threat actors. There are a lot of other talks presented this year, especially like in Black and DEF CON. There have been a lot of like attacks against like CI/CDs that's been presented. So that's a different thing, different focus. Uh, and I will be only focusing more like tooling, how tooling can work. Although we do explain like some best practice, of course, as well. And there's no like mobile projects. Mobile have a different, nature of like development. So they usually use different than normal like web-based projects. So I will give like some like before Jam, like some engineers we work with, like just wanna thank and appreciate my previous colleagues and managers we have worked on this project. And today I will start like in explaining the phase. To explain you how we ended up with this idea, what's the reasons behind it, like why we created this, and then we will be talking about how we built the project, how we designed the architecture and implemented the design until we have like a working package. And later on, we will be explaining like how I will be explaining about how actions we have taken to support troubleshooting and how we train like DevOps engineers and developers that are part of like Security Champion certification program. Lastly, I will be showing like our results and like some several technical challenges we have faced, and we need to consider further actions. So let me explain about the project. Like a CSTD department, in Ragnar, we have like a responsible of like all pre-release production, pre-production staging services and applications in house services. Although our ecosystem has many have different diverse projects handled by like virus development, a lot of development teams. This increases the workload and demand of like security engineers from time to time. As security cybersecurity defense department, we have decided like a proposed solution, like another other teams can also decrease our possible application attack surface by making them remediate potential security vulnerabilities before going to deployment phase. So, uh, but this was like how we can start it, right? So we are asking like questions like about like how we could omit the unaddressed vulnerabilities in our organization to enlighten the security requests, lighten the weight of the security requests, and how we build a new approach to support security champions to integrate and provide self-service operations with the development team's existing pipelines. Therefore, we created like surveys in developer teams. First, we have set up questions like have a starting point for ourselves. We have asked our development teams to share their feedback. Like first question was, what solution or tool do you use to build a DevOps pipeline? And we got like a Jenkins was the most common. And back in time, we did the surveys. A CI/CD solution, and what are the like security scanners if they already been have experience with it with their own pipelines. We got like SonarCube was the most common security scanner they were using in CI/CD integrated, and which types of security scanners they needed to be integrated with your development pipeline. We got some results like SCA, software composition analyzers, and static application security testing is one of like most required scanners the developers wanted to integrate their own pipelines. Lastly, which programming languages are most in the which programming languages are the most used in their development projects? Java was the most common programming language that preferred to be used by the teams. And as a result, we have like a general idea like what will be like the requirements that the project needs to be built. In general, we plan to like implement a SaaS and SCA solution to existing development. The majority development teams can integrate their existing pipelines, primarily focused on Java-based projects, but also as possible covering like some programming language like PHP, Ruby, ideally using like Jenkins, SonarCube, and an SCA solution, we ended up choosing the OWASP Defense Check. It's covering multiple platforms, and yeah, we started like name as Project Alita. In 2019, starting like surveys, then we started with surveys, then designed like architecture, implemented features, released and introduced in secret champions to use. This approach was implemented and was used for DAS configuration later on, container scanning implementations in future as well. We included the old self-service scanner projects in like Certificate Security Champion program as a training material as well. And let me explain how we implemented it. From like the left side is like a traditional, the flow of the pipeline goes like building the project, performing testing, unit testing, etc. Then releasing the latest build we deployed. And what we are planning to implement was to make a development pipeline to call scanner jobs from a separate pre-configured pipeline and provide results to the main development pipeline that which can decide or differentiate the based on the scan project is okay to go to the proceed to the next step. Okay, outlaw. Okay. Based on the survey results, we have decided to use Jenkins to control both scan jobs and SonarCube as a main SaaS solutions by using a Find Checkbox plugin. For SCA, we use OWASP dependency check. And all those scanners and tools were bundled in a single Docker container. That is easy to like deployment teams to ready and pre-configured to be used. Looking into more detail, the pipelines, the original existing DevOps pipelines, they have clearing the workspace, pulling the source code, building the project, unit testing, getting test results, deciding whether the test is passed or failed. Then goes to deploying the code that is ready to be released or not to the pre-prod environment. The scanner integration is planned to operate together with the unit test phase, including the both sonar scan and OWASP dependency check jobs, by calling our container to run each scan separately. Then retrieve the results of those scan jobs to combine with the unit test results in order to decide uh, decide if all the results have been green light to a particular code procedure to the next stage. The requirements to create a container image that is ready to be used by development teams include SonarCube Community Edition, which have with Maven plugin to trigger the scan jobs from Jenkins and find checkbox plugin to have additional Java scan rules. OS dependency check package. I'm so sorry. Is reflecting the right screen, right? It's reflecting the right screen, or is it reflecting the correct screen now? Should be the like. Okay. Right. Okay. Jenkins and Fight Checkbox plugin to have additional Java scan rules. OS dependency check package, Jenkins, and pre-configured pipelines to run OS dependency check and SonarCube scan jobs. And we also decided need a minimal custom API that is required to check each scan job the status and return the scan status to the main developer pipeline. So these are like the basic requirements that we set up for from the start where we want to design this application. Starting the container requirements, we decided to use Docker file and other helper scripts to download the package from repositories. Apache Tomcat and SonarCube web server were configured accessible from the container. We use the same Tomcat server to host the Jenkins itself, and custom API also was developed in Java. So we use like this the custom API also hosted in the same Tomcat server. To add the SonarCube Community Edition, we pre-configured the quality profile in SonarCube by adding Find Sequence plugin and some additional custom rules we develop ourselves for SonarCube. OWASP dependency check package is also pulled from their own repository and added in the container as well. And after the downloading the latest Jenkins build, when we added the latest pre-configured jobs, the jobs folder running under the Apache Tomcat server. So other required packages were like usually the HTML parser, send email binaries, and we used like convert the OS dependency check report from HTML to PDF, and then send both like SonarCube and OS dependency check reports over email as a notification message when the scans were completed. They also like needed like Maven, Git, Curl, Python as used for as Jenkins jobs. After deploying all packages, Ubuntu base image and the ownership of the files were changed to the same service user, and then we exposed two ports, Apache Tomcat port and SonarCube ports to the accessible outside of the running container to provide the accessibility. About configuring the SonarCube quality profiles, we wanted to focus, like SonarCube doesn't just give you like just vulnerabilities, also covers like code quality features as well. We only wanted to focus security level findings if we're gonna decide like the pipeline affecting it. The configuration was for us to optimize the rules as much as possible to get the most possible efficient results. So instead, we disabled the code smells and bugs that might not be significant criteria for security control in our case, and then enabled like find checkbox rules for custom quality profile for Java projects. With the find checkbox, we also developed several custom rules. I have to redact the information there because they're actually custom rule, security rule that we only happen in Rakuten. And SonarCube by using SonarCube APIs. These rules are like organization-based issues that based on our regulations. We are not allowed to share details here. Apologize about that. But automatically scanned development jobs or before handling the audit teams are really beneficial, like from like reducing like addressing these issues in development phases may more helpful for audit team. And we have experienced an issue with like Elasticsearch on SonarCube, which we have needed to disable the memory mapping feature. Available memory for different platforms were different to run SonarCube inside the Docker container that end up with crashing to SonarCube if the memory mapping was enabled. So that's one challenge we have to configure if we want to run like SonarCube in Docker container. About OWASP dependency check, we did not need any specific requirements. It's just like a one like CLI application, just run it. Then for Jenkins jobs, we decided to implement 4 jobs by default. So and jobs for dependency check and sonar scan were actual SCA and SAS scans itself. So these are like the scan jobs itself. An example for the sample reference, like dev teams, if they can how they can run scan jobs was by calling Jenkins and custom API endpoints. And we also added another job like update custom rules if we release a new rule set. This decided for us to be able to work separately on a custom rule development rather than a new package. Every time we release a new rule, so we just not gonna send like a new container. Instead, you can just run that job to update the rules if you want to. So this is what we why we added that job in that Jenkins. So SonarQube Jenkins job is like split into 7 stage. Job starts with clearing up workspace, and then next stage sends like a usage data to local artifactory we have, and we run like a bash script. It's just like it sends like a post request to the artifactory and URL to understand to estimate how many development teams are using these scanners. And then the jobs list is inserted into the database table to keep in track of the scan jobs. And after that, the job downloads the source code from the provided URL as a package bundle. For compiled program language like primarily in Java, we expect developer teams to provide also it expects the provide compile or build binary files like if it's Java, it's class files, for example. SonarQube requires class files for Java projects to increase accuracy to create less false positive, more accurate results. The developer needs to create like a bundle for containing more like the binaries and the source files in a one package. And hosted on a web server, so accessible by the container to provide the URL. And I will explain like about this in the next slide. Then the next stage generates like a pom.xml, so it's like a dummy pom.xml, and run Maven Sonar plugin, and runs Sonar scan with Maven ATM when it's configured. And last step sends like an email command, send email command to send a notification email link to the SonarQube project to be scanned, which has been scanned. So the requirement parameters to run SonarQube's SonarScan job are the file URL, like hosting both source and binary files as a tar package. The job requires the relevant path of the folder for source files, compiled binary files, and unit state code if it exists. After that, expect the project name, return the scan results after the scan job are completed. The job requires SMTP configurations to send which credentials are expected to provide as like Jenkins secrets or somewhere is already a secrets management source. But to send the email, you need like a SMTP server. The rest are the SonarQube server URL, SonarQube token access, token to access the SonarQube itself, the service, and the unique identifier value from API, and any other random ID to track the scan job. So similar sort of like identifier to track this scan activity. OS dependency shape is similar to Sonar scan job, but like a few differences. Same as other job, it clears up the workspace, runs the bash script, sends like a post analytic data request, registers the job list to the database. The difference between this job and the compared to Sonar scan is where we ask the git URL, the project instead of the tar package, because we don't need binaries. We just or unit test code to run software composition analysis scan. We just need like the dependencies where it is located, or like git URL is enough for us to run scan. Then the job converts the HTML report to PDF and sends an attachment to configure email address. As the last step, we count like the total severities by score, insert them in database, and then we do not need this step in SonarScan because we can retrieve the results like how many like critical, high, medium vulnerabilities are found over Sonar API directly, but in here we have to make a manual calculation. The required parameters to run OWASP dependency scan job are similar, like almost same as Sonar scan job. We requires project name to retrieve the scan results. Job needs the repository role, the branch name to pull and run the OWASP dependency check scan. Once the first time run, the OWASP dependency check will retrieve the latest CV database from the internet. So users need to enter the proxy information if you don't have direct access to the internet from that box or that container running on. And the job also asks for also like SMTP email notification to send email notification. Server mode is feature for allows to report posted on a web server in case of you need like a raw or JSON results. Um, then the job needs a unique identifier value from API or another random ID to track the Sonar job. Sorry, to track the scan job, which is similar to Sonar scan job. So it's basically same ID gonna be used for both jobs. As a last step, we put an option if project requires experimental analyzers since dependency check. This because like um, there like some if by default it doesn't like support, for example, some programming language or platforms. So you need to enable the experimental analyzers if you want to add more coverage for the scan job. Then why we need like a helper API in case we already have Jenkins control both scan jobs. In terms of users, they can trigger jobs, but Jenkins API does not allowing us to like track individual scan status or retrieve the results as JSON values. JSON values. So therefore, we created like simple API just control like both scan jobs posted in the same Apache Tomcat. And basically you have like three endpoints. It's really simple. The first it just runs like a new job and return a new job ID, which is like a unique UID value, UUID value, and then that's it. Like nothing else. Just give you like a UID value. Developers can use this endpoint like it's optional, or you can just like whatever you want. Um, and after like triggering like scan jobs using Jenkins API, the helper API will return like current job status by querying the UID value. So if you like send the UID value, say get scan status, like what's happening, is it running, is it finished, etc. And the last endpoint to return the both scans and JSON objects and total severity scores. So in general, like the list, all the helper and APIs combined is looking like this. Returning unique identifier using the helper API. Both they are like for parameters that run Jenkins jobs using Jenkins API with different unique identifiers. So that's why you can like XXX and YYY there. So you could like because they're like different scan jobs, so you need different identifiers to track it, but with the same project name. And then while running Jenkins API, the triggering scan, they'll also expected to use the same project name for both scans for the same project. And then to track the ongoing scan activities triggered by Jenkins, uh, get the scan status helper. The API endpoint is used to return the current state of job scan. Like then using like get scan results API, both scan jobs returned by different types of project name. So here's like a demonstration how both helper and Jenkins APIs are worked as it's playing now and operated together. First, we get like two UID values for each scan job. Then we start OS depends check scan job by using the UID value we got from the helper API. And as you can see, other parameters also pass the required new scan. It's a little bit tiny. I'm not sure to see it. So and so I got like two UIDs from the custom API, and I run scan jobs for sonar scan and defense fix, but they're triggering the Jenkins API, and then I query them with the custom API using the identifier. So this means the success is running. The success depends check status is completed. Defense check scan is completed, and then I check the status of sonar scan. The same point. It's also completed. And lastly, like for both SAS and SCA scan results can be retrieved by just giving the project name, and here it should be Vulnado, and get the dependency check result. And scan type 1, we set like dependency check, and scan type 2 is for sonar. So, except from the scan jobs, one additional thing, we implemented a job that allows the current image to update the custom sonar rules for SonarCube without requiring to re-downloading the latest build of the package from the Artifactory. The script is just like a lightweight package manager and activates the new rules in SonarCube profiles. Actually, this is not being used now, so we just create like an idea, but yeah, instead we just like ship the new container image because in reality, you don't publish a lot of custom rules a lot, so instead we didn't proceed using this feature. To run the job, you just need like a bitbug token is expected to read our like custom rule repository and download the latest custom rules released. And after like joining after running the job, Jenkins job like runs the Python script, downloads, confirms the package activities, and restarts the latest release custom. And the last job we implemented was the sample job as a reference for development teams can read, modify, and change. They can implement their own pipelines, so it's like a reference for a reference. There's a sample job there. The sample Jenkins job cleans the workspace, pulls the source code, builds the sample source code, and proceeds to both SCA and SAS scans by using API calls. The last stage is parses the JSON results and calculates the total and high critical vulnerabilities returned by both scan jobs and fails and passes based on the criteria. And therefore, like the example pipeline requires like just uh, both sonar scan and dependency check parameters to run both scan jobs. And after we complete all the implementation of project, we create like a documentation development teams can use, explaining the requirements, setting up installation usage and demo recordings, and troubleshooting information. This is just like a table of contents page. We provide like a development teams as main reference, and we have been updating for new improvements and solution for the issues. And as a result, like when you have like a stable working container image in the package and documentation, we like announced for the secret champions that we could share the solution and support them to integrate their pipelines with. And so after announcements, like I will explain like how to maintain supporting dev teams, how we provide the training as a material. After completing the first release of documentation and the image, we announced our updates in Secret Champion update meetings, and we also recorded some usage videos, so like some demonstration and reference videos with sample projects. We created like an open channel for everybody can like drop questions and try to help them if we have whenever we have availability. Continuously support people like crucial steps that we managed to fix, and then we try to fix the issues that people face with different platforms and accelerate the process with feedback from the people, and and it's a part of like our certification program as well. After we set up our repositories and project source code management, we have followed the same approach for development projects, implement changes and upgrades and implementing new features to our project. And also we use like our monthly meetings to announce latest updates. What we have implemented for training was not just tooling like APIs. We added materials to explain some terminologies like CVE reports. What are they? How to analyze CVE, how to do like a manual code review, a secure code review, and help development teams to read like review. How development teams to review the results once they pull requests rejected because SAS and SCA jobs scan results are higher than expected threshold value. And then the benefits and challenge, what we have had good and bad in result. Many teams implementing the solution had like a chance to use like automation if they haven't weren't reduced to if they weren't reduced severity vulnerabilities in early stages. Finding the potential vulnerabilities before waiting the next stage on SDLC is really good for us. Like reduces like like I'm working like a security audit team and I was like seeing less issues. The teams are actually reviewing the results with the scan jobs, not just because using this, but any scanner they integrated, of course. And also, development teams were like able to extract location of security issues, to review and conform to issues over more like a dashboard. They can like, or people doesn't not familiar with like maybe scanners. They have more like understanding how to view, etc. And this also helps us to inform like those teams using SAST, like can could have review like for example, and log for share were released. We had like some people were asking like how we gonna like find it because there wasn't any patch. So we would go like you can check like log injection from your past scan results in like Sonar Cube, for example. So because log injection was like a relevant issues, like you can actually check like you need to sanitize only allow like I don't know like characters that's like only alphabetic characters to when you process data in the local shell library from user input. And then perform like SCA scan to check if there were any affected versions that still exist in project dependencies. Um, we also like completed our project by expanding our scope to other scanners like IAST, configuration scanners, container scanners. I personally like a chance to like partially contribute, not completely work on those projects, but similar approach has been used distributing the pre-configured scanners by them. The other projects that we used by development or DevOps teams to integrate the pipelines. Um, we were more inquiries raised by developers that we have experienced like access control configurations issues or some platform dependent issues. So, for example, like Circle CI doesn't support Jenkins to be run inside, and you're throwing some errors saying like, there's another like CI, you can't run CI inside CI, some kind of issue like that. And most of the case, we were able to find solutions sometimes, as much as we can possible. Although there are some challenges and improvement requires to redesign the of this project. This is because after releasing the project, there's some two challenges we face. The persistent storage to keep previous scan history required this feature, although that will require redesign architecture and publishing a new version completely. And there's another issue like after version 7.8, the SonarCube stopped support of MySQL, which also affected the helper API because we were storing in MySQL. That requires with effort to migrate our scan job scripts to use the different DBMS technology. That's also covered by the licensing. To summarize all activities, we started the surveys, designed architecture, did implementation, released the solution, and publish it. That's basically it. Created the documentations, usage guidelines, announced in our monthly meetings, created training materials, and provided to the security champions or developers, supporting support channels for troubleshooting. We created some support channels for troubleshooting. Also, as a result, sharing our process, I want to show the idea like how we create like a solution using like Docker, Jenkins, and other scanners. We told this share to share. I told like to share this information could be beneficial for other like engineers to start like if you need to start similar project in your own work environment. So it might be a good reference for you as well. And just sticking with same stack doesn't mean like you have to stick same tech stack. Like if you need like you can use GitHub Actions or Circle CI or other CI tools. Like of course that's like there are a lot of variations based on your like company's tech stack. Um and yeah, so yeah, so thank you for everyone listening me today. If you want to reach me, feel free me to like use my like LinkedIn handle or leave me an email, and I will like try to help as much as possible. So thank you. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Okay, guys. Any questions? Yep.
Thank you for presentation. It's always difficult to ingest some security into the development processes, that's for certain. And speaking from that perspective, those scans, etc., are they mandatory or like how it called? they can be chosen by the developers in their pipeline when they're creating the project for like something new they're trying to
Mhm.
develop? Are they forced to?
No.
Aha, aha. Yeah, that's a similar issue that we were facing also before. And I think now we, for example, like forcing some of them, like the critical parts, like I think SAST and DAST at least are enforced to utilize, but not all the tools that potentially can be ordered there. Interesting.
Well, obviously, this is like we created as a people, like just like a helper, like everybody can integrate and understand like how they can do the security controls in their own development phase, right? So it's like it's up to you. Like you can, like if our scanners are not being like if you have like a commercial scanner, why you not gonna use that in your dev? It's up to like dev team's like opinion. So just have a
Mm.
like a free to use thing, like it's very in house thing we created, and then of course like there will be variations. It's like this is like a most optimal way we created for everyone to be can be easy to use, right? Except if you have anything else, well, and if you think it's better, I mean, just go for it. Yeah.
So it's like shared for the group, like Rakuten group,
Well,
to
yeah,
be able
sure.
to.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
okay.
we're getting like pull requests from dev teams, not just ourselves. Like it's actually many teams having sending pull requests. It's in our big bucket. Actually, you can just look into it. You can see it. So and there's like guidelines. I think check the CSCD
Mm.
page.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah,
I need to access there.
yeah, sure,
Thank
sure,
you.
no problem. Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay, yeah.
Ready fire.
Thank you for sharing your success story. Now, I just wondered about the customization part. So, did I get it correctly that the third job for the custom rules, it's a company wide?
Yes.
There is no way to configure this job for example, for per project.
Um, yes. That's not actually in pipeline integration thing. We decided first that we might want to use it in separate to update. It's basically like we kind of maybe have a different manage to distribute this custom rules if you want to implement. And yeah, it's not per project, but it's per programming language. So and then yeah, it's SonarCube. Like how you run like custom rule. It's like you need they have their own library. You import that library. You create a new Java project, and you use like abstract syntax tree AST to parse the sample code. And it should be like you need to create for each programming language because they have different like heuristics, right? So
Yeah.
different way of like can process different programming languages.
Okay.
So right now we have like PHP and Java for one rule, another rule for Java, and there are like three custom rules. But that's with like we don't need to create more and more. But ideally it was there, so we just decided to not to maintain that feature anymore. Instead, we're just gonna publish and release the. So,
So just to double check, I'm not that familiar with SaaS solutions.
mhm.
Is there like real necessity to have I mean, with your experience, have you faced any situation when probably you need to do several custom rules within one language? So, for example, this is specific project that probably you need to add these custom rules, which should be excluded from the others.
Well, like you can like share all rules with everyone. It's not. It's because if you write the rule right, so it's not gonna be create false positive. If you ask like a false positive results might
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
exhaust
exactly.
resource. I don't think false positive like it's if you write the rule really accurate, it's not gonna like be create less false positive of course. But well, it's still like up to the like you can actually go to Market dashboard and disable that rule manually if you want
Mm.
to. But it's usually just distributed for everyone. That was the idea for. But we don't. I didn't have faced. Well, they're just like maybe. Uh, I don't know. Like it's based on the scanner on the rule repository. To be honest, like not just using SmartCube. I also use SemGrep as well. Like it's also really good CLI. I really recommend if you're doing like assessments like in web scanning like source code or do you need to do like integrating CI/CD? SameGraph is a good alternate as well, and they're more crowdsourced compared to SonarQube, for example. They have more like everybody can contribute and sample requests to SameGraph rule sets, which is more like open source.
Well,
Like
last question, but basically you already started to answer on it. Any advice to choose the SaaS solution? Maybe like
advice, yeah. I mean, it's like a metrics. Like you need to create, of course, if you're doing like for business, like if you're like home development team, if you wanna create, you need to create like a metrics, of course, like comparison metrics. What are my budget is like what's code coverage, what I need. So if you wanna just do a research project, I really recommend SameGraph is good. If you just wanna like hobby work.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure, no problem. By the way, SameGraph is not using AST. It uses like regex matching. So they are more. SameGraph creates more false positive.
And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe another small question.
Yeah.
So, do you have like any estimate on how long it takes to deploy a solution like this?
Sorry, can you?
Do you have any estimate how long it takes to deploy a solution right like this?
So you
So
mean like
just
in
like
general, how long this
yeah, I
take?
mean in general, not like
I think I have
specific
like a
numbers.
timeline here somewhere. Should be in maybe first slides. Maybe I got a little fast. So it took us 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just curious from the
Yeah, sure,
top
no
of
problem.
management perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we don't have a lot of time for any other questions. So
Yeah,
fortunately,
sure.
we have to
I'm
finish.
still here.
Yeah, but thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Yeah, it's a little bit different than the other presentations today. It's more like
well, we're all
like
about
business
variety.
perspective, doing like a research and more less fun, more work stuff.
Yeah, but thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I
Thank
mean,
you for listening.